Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Joe. Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Our Phillies podcast. Phillies are now 3 games deep into the 2026 season as they lost the series 2-1 to the Texas
Season's over.
Rangers. Yeah, season's over. I think we can all pack it up now. And as you heard, we have our guest for tonight's episode, Giles. How are you today, Giles?
I am good. Outside of the season-ending loss.
Yeah, no, this is devastating for the Phillies NL East odds. But every game does matter, and you don't want to get in a position where you're like 1 game out of it by the end of the year, and you're looking back at like any one of your
Yeah,
losses and
obviously.
been like, that's the reason why. But none of these losses were that crushing. But kind of let's start with the positives of this series. That was the first game of this series. Starting with what Christopher Sanchez did. I think it's safe to say Christopher Sanchez is back.
Oh, I think he never left.
True.
You can't be back if you never left. And I think this is going to be truly sort of. Last year was like his breakout, quote unquote, year. Even though I thought 24 was that. This year is going to be the year when he sort of solidifies himself among the upper echelon of MLB pitchers. And I think Wheeler is going to sort of pass the torch to him a little bit this season as well too. I don't think Wheeler's going to suck, but I think Sanchez might end up being better than Wheeler this season.
I'm kind of with you. If you listen to like the last episode where Jeremy and I kind of went over like our ranking the starters by ERA,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think Sanchez is going to have the best ERA of the Philly starters this year, if that's how you determine who the best pitcher is. Um, Other takeaways from this game, kind of some power in bunches. Alec Boehm last year didn't hit a home run until I think it was like the middle of May or like something crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he had a home run in that first game. What do you make of like the contract year Boehm discussion?
But come on. So every year, Bohm comes into spring training. You get some sort of narrative. Either he has put on a lot of muscle, or he's lifting the ball now, and maybe he does it for like the first couple months or so. Like you remember at the beginning of 2023 when he hit that like against the Rangers, hit that 2-run opposite field like monster shot off of DeGrom and in the first inning, I think. Uh, to start the season, and then just never really replicated that. He can never consistently lift the ball, and I don't think it being a contract year is going to magically change that. If it does, that's great, but I'm not holding out hope for that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't think you could put too much hope on Boehm. You can't take away. I think like we kind of have to
He'll be
have this.
usable. He's not going to be like
Sure.
he's not going to suck. He's going to be a passable third baseman, which is what he's been his entire time here, and that'll be that.
I think we have to have like this clause for this entire podcast that like you can't make like a mountain out of a molehill for 3 games
Yeah,
in
you
either like
can't.
a positive way or a negative way. Because we're looking at such a small sample size. But Bohm walking twice in a series,
Hmm.
that feels pretty good to see. I feel
Yeah,
like
that
that
does
that
feel
didn't
pretty good.
happen that much last year.
Yeah, I will say, and I realized this was going to be a little out of order because we're not this is going to be the second game. I thought Nola's just pure stuff wise in game two. I told you this is a cliche, but outside of the home runs, the stuff looked a lot better for him than it did last year. There's a lot more swing and miss on that stuff. Because remember last year, like Nola couldn't miss a bat to save his life, and it felt like he was getting a lot more swing and miss in that game. And it's his first start of the year, so there's still going to be some rust there. But I thought he looked a lot better than he did last year at any point, really.
Sure. Yeah, no, I am totally with you on on that. We can jump right into Nolan and then maybe talk about like the hitters a little bit
Sure.
later on. Because yeah, I mean Aaron Nola, it wasn't a great start, no, but I saw a lot of people online that were freaking out about like 5 innings, 3 runs, like it is the worst thing to ever happen. When in my
Yeah.
opinion, I'm like you, I just don't really care all that much about that kind of start. Like if that's the bad start, which it's not a great start, we will take it.
Then yeah, that's your worst start. Then damn, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
Um, Velocity is better than it was all
mhm,
year last year.
yes. Oh, absolutely. And remember Nola and Wheeler are both like this, where their velocity is always like a tick slower at the start of the year. So that
Mm,
is going to get up, I think, a little bit more as the year goes on too.
yeah. No, I think I'm totally with you. Um, we might be seeing Nola throw like what, like 94, 95 in like the middle of the season, which is like,
Oh, I remember he was doing that, like not uncommonly back in 2020, 21, 22.
yeah,
Just as he's sort of aged here, it's kind of left him a little bit.
right. Um, and they were saying how like he was really spending time in the off season, kind of going back to the basics, doing things like long toss, starting his routine a little bit earlier in the off season, and maybe that kind of stuff, even though it's simple, maybe it does really make a difference.
Um, I don't know. I feel like it sort of comes across as oh, best shape of his career type stuff. Like we're doing this whole thing differently. It's going to magically change the fact that his body isn't capable of what it was a couple of years ago.
Sure.
I think we'll just have to wait. Obviously, if the season goes well for him, it's all because of that. He should do it again next year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's totally fair. Um, one more thing with Nola, TJ Stats, who we've talked about a lot on this podcast before, he does a really great job with making like stuff plus
Yeah,
metrics and stuff like that. Nola was at a 101 on his stuff plus, so
that's
a
good.
little bit above average, which for him with his location and stuff like that, if you're giving him above average stuff too, um, that's a killer. That's great.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Um, I think the less good start, the most concerning, if you want to call it that, of the three starts for the Phillies this weekend was Jesus Luzardo on Sunday's game. What was your initial thought, Giles, on Luzardo and how he looked?
It was just frustrating. Um, you know, like again, like we said, not making a mountain out of a molehill here. So I think it's just a bad start for him. But it was shitty to see. First start after an extension like that, and he comes out and has a really awful outing. But I'm not super concerned over it. If it persists like to the middle of April, then I'll start kind of going, okay, let's get things working here. But I'm not too worried right now.
Yeah, if you want to look at things in a more positive perspective, the command was pretty good.
Hmm.
Only had one walk in the 6 innings, 7 strikeouts. So that's like a really good K to walk ratio. It was those home runs that really killed Luzardo
Yep.
today, which I mean it's kind of just baseball in these modern era.
Y-
And his stuff plus was at a 105.
Yeah.
So
So this stuff's there. It's just that McCutcheon ball really sort of snuck out. Uh, and Nimmo just always kills the Phillies no matter what. So you know, not a good start. Obviously, there's no really defending it, but not really gonna be too concerned for him overall for the season.
it was gonna happen at some point. Like there was no
Yep.
way Brandon Nimmo was gonna have a series where he didn't like annoy the shit out of us. So
Yeah. That it's a requirement every time we have to play him.
yes, that is true. I don't know if there's anything more annoying to me than watching him like sprint to first base after a walk. It just grinds my gear in the worst possible way.
I think it's funny how much it annoys people. I
Oh, it
actually think it's
is.
kind of funny.
I mean, you would love it if he's on your team,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
you'd love it if he was on your team. That's the point I always make it. Like you'd love Brandon Nimmo if he was on the Phillies, dude.
yeah.
With him not chasing stuff and walking all the time.
Oh my God, please,
Yeah,
please.
right.
Though that brings up a good point about like the overall, I think maybe problems with the Phillies offense. People talk a lot about how it's gone on for years now, how the Phillies chase a lot out of the zone, and that's true to some extent. The Phillies at times do have a tendency to chase out of the zone, but I kind of think the bigger problem is the Phillies not capitalizing on pitch to hit in the middle of the zone. What do you think about that?
Um, I think you notice the ones that you don't hit more than the ones that you do hit. Just because that's sort of how at least I find it works a lot of time. I'd have to see actual numbers if that exists on that,
Right.
but I haven't actually looked into that, so I don't really want to make a statement about what I think it is. I think they're reasonably decent at it, but again, I have no data at all on it. So
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I think more what I mean is just like how it feels like Harper is pretty consistently behind fastballs, and he has
Mhm.
been for a little while. Um,
well, I think that's just his swing slowing down. He's getting old.
yeah, let's
Um,
actually take a look if we could see on Savant. Should have data from at least the first couple of games. Bryce Harper. Obviously, this is going to be very minimal
yeah,
data that we have at this point, right?
of course.
But while I try to get this loaded up, um, what else kind of stood out to you, positively, negatively, about any of the guys on
Um,
offense?
there was on offense. So I thought Stott had some pretty good swings and hitting the ball the other way. That was encouraging to see after the end of last year, and hopefully end of last year not being a fluke. Marsh is hitting the ball hard already. I really hope they do not listen to this small sect of the fan base that for some reason wants Marsh traded because he's a platoon guy.
Right.
He is so valuable to this team. With the double like the gap to gap power from the like bottom third or middle of the lineup.
Yeah.
You know, I thought Garcia actually, he struck out and chased a lot, but he hit a lot of balls pretty hard, and or at least some balls pretty hard. I don't think I'm super super like concerned about it right now.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think the guys that
Somebody
I'm
else,
concerned about are like the
I
big guys. Like I think my
yeah,
main concerns are with Turners of the world, the Harpers of the world, even though actually his bat speed looks pretty much on par to where it was last year. So um, maybe
we'll
that's
see.
a good sign. Um, but yeah, no, I'm with you on like the Stotts and the Marshes and all them, but it's really like the Turners and the Harpers. Harper's still chasing, swinging first pitch. He
hmm
walked once today, but yeah,
It's
I
just
don't know.
his bat speed, unless it's his he suddenly has more time to see the ball because his bat speed comes back. I don't think anything fixes the chase in because he
Yeah,
has to make a swing decision sooner, which means he can't tell if he doesn't have as much time to tell a pitch is a ball or a strike, and that leads to more chases. And I just don't think it's fixable. And I appreciate that he recognizes that it's a problem, but you know, there's not much that he can do about it.
no,
So
absolutely.
I think the one guy, and I will say this, and again, we said not a mountain out of a molehill, is that if Crawford keeps hitting like he hit this series, he's going to end up getting sent back down to AAA. I was not really impressed by Justin Crawford at the plate this series, and I feel like I'm in the minority saying that because he got 3 hits. They all were like little weak, except for the first one, which at least was hit a little hard. Were all kind of dribblers or infield hit, and
Sure.
just not a lot of hard contact.
Yeah,
That play in center field though was spectacular on the second game of the series.
no, that was a nice play, but I think you're kind of right. Like it's more about the process than the results,
Yep.
and maybe the
It feels like the first like month and a half of Johan Rojas when he hit like 300.
well that entire year. You look at like Johan Rojas and his like what was his batting average? It
300.
was
It was over 300 in 2023.
I want to say 322 sticks out, but I might be wrong.
Jesus. God.
302. Okay.
Most fake 300 batting average of all time. Oh my god. I got downvoted to shit for saying that. I'm like, this is so fraudulent. And then of course the wheels came off in the playoffs, and everyone's like, oh, how could we have seen this one coming?
His OPS plus last year when he was likely roided up was about half of his OPS plus in his 2023 campaign. Just objectively hilarious.
Yes. What was his BABIP in that 2023 campaign, by the way?
Oh God, let's find this. Johan Rojas.
See, Savant, it would be. I mean, not Savant Fangraphs. It would be right there.
Well, this is a baseball reference podcast. No, his BABIP was 410 in 2023.
Jesus.
That's
That's
sustainable.
oh yeah, that's hysterical. Meanwhile, man, Brandon Marsh just has like a 380 every year. We're just like, yeah, yeah,
Well, he
that's
finds a way to
Brandon.
make it work just because of
Yeah,
how
because
like
he hits the
consistently
ball. He just
hard he
hits
hits
so many.
it.
he has so many line drives and hard hit balls.
Right.
That's what it is. But only thing holding him down is those strikeouts. If Marsh could strike out only like 28% of the time or something, he'd be an all-star. Like, I really think he would have a chance of being an all-star if he could cut down the strikeouts. That's his biggest enemy.
And if he was a little better against lefties, right? Like the
Well,
Phillies
not
seem
even
like
just an MLB caliber player against lefties. Holy
sure.
God. Yeah,
I
I said in the game thread that I genuinely hoped we would not have to go through the give Brandon Marsh playing time against the lefties bullshit this year. It is so tiring. It's like, are you not watching his at bats versus left-handers? The dude doesn't even look like he wants to face a left-hander when he's up there. Like, that's how he's swinging at these guys.
he looks against lefties like Bryce Harper looks against like the Rogers brothers, right? Like just absolutely
Yes.
zero interest in being up there.
I forgot about that.
So funny.
Was that when Harper just stood there for or that was Hobie Milner? That was Hobie Milner when he did that.
I think he did it against the Rogers brothers too. So it's kind of like funky
Yeah.
deliveries that I think mess him up the most, right?
Just hell no, I'm not doing this.
Funny stuff. Um, I think what people's like biggest concern is going to be after the series is the
Bullpen.
bull. Is that where you're at too?
So I'm kind of torn up because this whole series we didn't really get to see like the actual meat of this bullpen as it's meant to function, like locking down the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning with the lead. We basically only got to see sort of middle and filler guys in game one until Backus had his meltdown in the ninth inning and he had to bring in Duran. And then it was sort of the filler guys again on the second game. You had Mesa. Mesa looked pretty good, I thought, actually.
He did.
And Tanner Banks, he looked good. And then you brought in Duran. Duran was not that great. So
Duran gets hit around. Duran, like he does not like. It's so crazy because of how hard he throws. So it did seem like the velocity was a little bit down, which is fine, right? Like it's literally March. Like I'm not gonna.
yeah, and it's back-to-back days of use.
Well,
I think
not
I
really
think the
back to
big
back because of the day off.
I think oh yeah, true. I always forget about that with opening day.
Right.
Um, I think the thing is with him is that he only has his splitter or sinker or whatever it ends up getting called, and his four seamer have basically not a big enough velocity difference to actually get whiffs. They get bad spots on the bat instead of whiffs. The one that really gets him whiffs would be his sweeper or curveball, but he barely ever throws it. So if you're just throwing in one velocity range basically all the time, then it's not super hard to at least make contact with the ball, but it can still be hard to get good contact, and that's how he sort of survives.
Sure. You can time it up just because your swing should be coming at roughly similar time
Yep.
every single pitch that's coming in.
hmm
So that
And I'm still perfectly comfortable with Duran. Like, people thought for some reason we were getting like actually Mariano Rivera with him, which we were not. We were getting a really, really excellent late inning relief pitcher, and that's still what he is. Oh, and Brad Keller today looked fantastic, and it was garbage time, but he looked really excellent.
yes. I was a little worried after the after the WBC and Keller's
Ah,
struggles there, but I'm glad that it seems like, at least based on today, it was a lot better.
oh yeah. I just don't really take anything from WBC or spring training into account, and like when Backus was struggling in the ninth inning, and they're like, oh, well, he had such a great spring training. It's just so odd. It's like, no, it's not. You're not playing against MLB caliber competition most of the time in spring training.
Sure.
And it's just or hitters are maybe trying out different mechanics, pitchers are trying out different pitches. There's so many different reasons you should care literally not at all about spring training stats that like it'd be easier to say why you should care about them than why you shouldn't. So, that's that, but I thought the bullpen looked basically fine. Outside of filler guys, like, Zach Pop sucks. Everybody knows Zach Pop sucks. Zach Pop sucking is not, a forebearer of the apocalypse. Kyle Backus sucks. Everybody knows Kyle Backus sucks. I'm pretty sure he sucks. And
He has options, right? Like they have
yeah,
at least relievers where they can use
yeah.
options
Like it's
to.
not the end of the world that these guys came in blue. Okay, the only guy of any importance that really stunk up the joint was Duran in game 2, but we almost for certain know Duran's going to be good this year.
Right.
So I'm really not perturbed by the bullpen. People have got to stop looking at the overall bullpen and see, okay, who are the guys that actually matter? Have they pitched well? Are they pitching well? And then make your judgment off of that. You can't let these guys who just get sent in there to eat runs and innings and die sort of obscure your overall view of the bullpen.
Sure. I'm kind of with you. I'm not convinced that this bullpen is great. Like I think a lot of
No, I don't think
people
so.
a month ago would have told you that they thought this would be like one of the better bullpens in the sport. I think it's
No.
probably closer to like a league average bullpen. Like it's not going to kill you
Mhm.
2020 Philly style, but it's
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
not going to win
don't
you.
talk about that bullpen. Oh God.
It's probably not going to win you a ton of games either. I think if there's going to be a reason that the Phillies struggle this year, it's most likely to be the offense. Um,
Hmm.
I think we've talked about this a lot, but you keep looking at it, and there's going to be a point where age catches up to these guys,
Yep.
and it may have already started to in some ways with Bryce Harper catching up to the fastballs. One thing that really stands out to me was when JT kind of lined out to left field late in the game today.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pitch and that's a swing
You
where
know.
like 4 years ago that's in like
Yeah.
the fifth row. Like
I will say on that if it's summertime, that ball's probably off the wall or gone. Into like
maybe
the first row or something.
the ball
So
did just seem to die.
the ball died a lot today and yesterday, and I don't know how the wind was blowing. It was. Listen, we all know JT's on the decline offensively. What he's here for really is throwing people's asses out on the bases. Apparently now, we didn't know this when we signed him, being a GOAT with the ABS system and guiding pitchers through games, basically. And for a catcher, just, if you rank him among catchers, he's not really like awful in terms of if you look at the MLB overall offensive production from catchers. If you look at him compared to like, say, all MLB hitters, he doesn't look good because compared to all hitters, he isn't. But
Sure.
relative to his position, he's really not awful right now. And he's not being paid. What was like 20 million he was being paid a year previously?
Oh,
He was being paid 15
that
million.
third year is just gonna make us so angry in
Oh,
2028.
it's gonna suck, but yeah, they're trying to win now, I guess. So
Yeah, yeah.
is what it is.
At a certain point, I think I've made it pretty clear that I don't think the Phillies have been constructed all that well and sustainably. But at a
But
certain
yeah,
point, you just have to ride with things the way they
just gotta
are.
let it ride, baby.
It's out of both of our control,
The die has
unfortunately.
been cast.
But what I will say, one thing that I was kind of thinking as the Phillies were down and it was looking like they were going to lose today, this series coming up against the Nationals is like sneakily quite important. As
Hmm.
important as a series that's the second series of the year can be. Because after
Hmm.
this, the Phillies are going to the two House of Horrors known as Oracle
City
Park
Field.
and Coors Field.
Okay, no
Um,
City Field. Okay,
no City Field, but they go to
that's
Colorado and
that's
San Francisco. Like that is a Phillies hell trip.
they've done pretty well, I thought, the last 2 years in Coors Field, haven't they?
Last year they did. In 24, what did they do?
So I know 23 and 22, like 21, that was like utterly infuriating that they just couldn't hit in Coors Field for whatever reason.
Let's see. Phillies were 4-2 against the Rockies in 2024. They went 1-2 in Denver.
Jesus. Okay. Oh, well, that's gonna suck. Oh yeah, because one of those games was a Jose Alvarado gave up a walk-off homer. I remember that.
And Ranger like really struggled in one of those games, I think, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
Like
I
Ranger was
think.
like on fire to start the season, and that was like the
Yeah,
beginning of the unraveling.
yeah,
Um, and last year they did a great job. Last year they won all four games they had in Coors Field.
yep.
So uh,
So I think the Rockies are at a point right now where I think the Phillies, if the Phillies aren't fine in Denver, then we can start talking at least a little bit about being concerned here. But
yeah,
everybody's got to remember here, it's like the 23 team started off 1-5. and they
Sure.
looked horrid in those first 6 games. I mean, like that Rangers sweep to start the year was terrible. Then they went down to New York and they looked just shitty in New York. And everybody was like, oh my God, all is lost. And then they were like 10 games under 500 going into June or May or whatever. And, it just, there's no reason to get, I think, hyper upset about this series. It's frustrating that they lost the second game, really, but it happens. The Rangers are a actually good team. People who are saying the Rangers are just this cakewalk team for us are just lying or just
They're
don't know
not a
what they're talking
cakewalk,
about.
but are they good? They're about a 500 team in my opinion.
They are perfectly capable of taking 2 of 3 off the Phillies.
Yes, it's baseball, right? Like anything like
Yeah,
that can
it's
happen.
baseball. That imagine if just a little bit if Kyle Schwarber ABS challenges a different pitch in game 2, who knows what happens?
Yeah. Well, ABS, great point. What were your
Yes.
thoughts on ABS and like these?
Oh, it's amazing.
It's so
amazing.
funny. It is so funny.
No, did you see the CB Buckner reactions? Like he's like huffing and puffing every time like Suarez is asking for the ABS challenge and that one at bat. Like, oh my God, dude, CB Buckner games are going to be must-watch television with ABS.
Yeah.
Holy cow, he might retire by the end of the season, like just from embarrassment. How many calls he's going to get overturned?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're gonna see it where it's like umpires kind of get upset that they're getting showed up, so they try to like unconsciously maybe make more calls against the team that they're upset at, and then those calls will like also get challenged, and it will like spiral for like a bad umpire that is
Yep.
like self-righteous, and
Yeah.
that is going to be really funny.
Yes. Yes. Oh, dude. The only tragedy is that Angel Hernandez couldn't be here to see it.
Oh my god, Cowboy Joe West too would have been so
Oh,
funny with
Joe
ABS.
Ass, dude. Oh, dude. Oh my God. I still remember that Angel Hernandez game against with the Brewers, where Schwarber had like just got thrown out of the game at the end. He throws the
Right.
bat into the ground. You're screwing it up for them. You're screwing it up for us. Angel is a gem that we have lost, Joe.
Uh, I, I I think we're all gonna like miss these umpires at some point. Like
Hmm.
I am perfectly pro ABS. I would not mind ABS 100% of the time, but like I am
No,
actually of the opinion that umpires being shitty and like having like these personalities that we all hate, like I think it is like a bonding experience, and I enjoy the bad umpires quite a bit.
if we're talking about umpires here, real quick, do you God, what was the Orioles manager's name in the '70s? When they won the World Series like a few times, or Earl Weaver. Have you seen the video of Earl Weaver crashing out on this umpire and getting ejected?
I must have. Like I feel
It
like
is one of
I
the greatest managerial meltdowns of all time, because it's mic'd up and everything. It is amazing. You got to watch it if you haven't seen it.
all right, I will have to look
That
at
is
it.
like peak like content we get from having umpires.
What sport, in your opinion, has like the worst umpiring? In my opinion, basketball umps are usually the worst. Basketball refs, I
So
think.
I only watch 2 sports consistently, being football and baseball. So I think I have to say football, because there are so many more subjective calls in that sport than there are in baseball. And I think the fact that certain things like face masks, or I think frankly pass interference could absolutely still be challenged, and stuff that can't be challenged is just ridiculous. And there's so many calls that just go the wrong way and are just ridiculous and are
Right.
blatantly wrong, and the league's like apologizing the second the game's over, and ends up screwing a team out of a win or maybe even a playoff spot, or a Super Bowl. So yeah, I think the NFL is worse than the MLB by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
The only thing umpires in the MLB can really screw up now, with ABS, are a couple ball and strike calls and check swings and maybe transfers, but you can challenge transfers. So it's like
Let's
grounders on the infield, um, check swings, and some ball and strike calls, and that's basically it.
check swings. I think are honestly they irritated me more than balls and strikes, if
Hmm.
you ask me, because like the rule of the check swing is
Is
like
super.
not what people actually think it is, where like you don't have
Yeah,
to have
I
like
know.
the bat perpendicular with the plate.
The
It's
intent to
like
swing or whatever.
yeah, it's like completely like a judgment call on if the batter made an attempt to strike the ball. Like it is so nebulous and so undefined, and I don't know. It's just it's such a stupid rule. Such a
Yes.
stupid rule.
It would just take a quick rewrite to change that too. So, you know, do you have anything else you want to talk about this series, or do you want to talk about the next one?
Uh I think I'm good with this series. Not a great series, not the worst series, but we are monitoring what's going to happen
We are
because
monitoring the situation.
we are
The
monitoring
Phillies.
the situation.
My call for the Phillies stock is a hold right now.
Yes. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. Um So yeah, looking ahead to this National Series, three more games at Citizens Bank Park. The Nationals, who actually won their first series of the year
Hmm.
against the Cubs in Chicago, not a bad way to start the season for the Nationals. But this is how the pitching matchups will look. We have Foster Griffin going against Taiwan Walker on Monday night. We have TBD going against Andrew Painter in his Major League debut at a game that we will be at on Tuesday night.
Yes.
Looking forward to it. And then Cade Cavalli going against Chris Sanchez on Wednesday. You look at these pitching matchups, you gotta hope for 2 out of 3, right? Like
Yeah.
San
It's
Cavalli
the Nationals. It's the Nationals. Like,
looks-
come on. It's the Nationals. You're playing them at home. You got to get 2 out of 3. There's not really too much of an excuse in my mind to not get 2 out of 3 from the Nationals. And it's again a thing where if they don't get 2 out of 3, the sky really isn't falling yet, but it's gonna get me pretty annoyed if they don't get 2 out of 3 from the Nationals.
if they lose this series too, going into like a Denver San Francisco road trip,
Yep.
um, I think people are going to start to panic.
Yes. Oh, no, people are already panicking that we lost the series. Don't you know that? Everybody sucks.
Oh yeah, you're always gonna
Trey
get that.
Trey Turner sucks now too. Don't you know that? Uh,
I, if there is somebody I'm concerned about more than the others, it is probably Turner.
really?
It's probably Turner. Turner and Harper, I think, are 1 and 2 on like my these guys might have lost a couple of steps list. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll see. We're not even like 2% into the season yet, so
Yes. Yes. Now
we
a lot
will
of that's
see.
based on spring training, which is like useless anyways.
Yeah,
But
spring. Oh yeah. I remember. God, I forget who it was. I think it was Nola had like an awful 22 spring training, and everybody was all like, "Oh, Nola's done. He can't pitch anymore." And then he was money in 2022.
yeah.
So, spring training just like Mickey Moniak in 2021 and 2022. Does anybody remember how good Mickey Moniak was
Oh
in
my
those spring
god.
trainings?
And then he
The
got hurt in the last game against the Rays in
Yes.
spring
Oh my
training.
God. Funny side story on that, real quick. The one game I went to with my dad that year, one of 2 games. It was his first game back against the Giants. And that game, Schwarber hit this game-tying home run in the ninth, and then of course they lost in extras. It was not Gabe Cat, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, Joe Girardi's next to last game as the manager. But like Mickey Moniak comes up, and everybody's like giving him like this like hero's welcome. It's like, dude, he stinks. We watched this guy in 2020 and 2021. He's not that good.
Right.
And that was the weirdest thing ever because you'd seen in 2021 him have this amazing spring training, then suck that season. Then 2022, it's like everybody totally forgot about that and was like, "Did you not see his spring training? He's going to be amazing." So Mickey Moniak is the prime example of don't give a shit about what happens in spring. It means literally nothing. Like it means less than nothing to me, frankly.
We're gonna
All that matters is really just not getting injured.
This is maybe more for our next episode, but Mickey Moniak got placed on the injured list with a sprained
Oh,
finger, so
my
we are
goat.
going to miss Moniak coming up in our
Oh,
series in Coors
thank
Field.
God.
Uh, man.
What would we
Um,
have done? Did you see of injuries? Speaking of injuries here, did you see Mike Trout like hit a couple nukes this first series of the season?
if we get like prime Trout back for 1 year,
I'd be so happy.
I'd feel young again, man.
I know, dude. Oh, I just want, not even a full. I just want 100 games of prime Mike Trout. That's all I want to see, and like I will feel happy, and I'll feel happy in my soul as a baseball fan. You know,
Trout,
he's the modern day Ken Griffey. That's really what he is. But his performance hasn't like fallen off a cliff as a result of injuries.
I
Just
want
he
to see
can't stay on the
Trout
field.
get to 100 baseball reference for. If we like at the pace he's at right now, it might be a little tough. Like we're
Yeah.
gonna need a year of like 5 WAR out of Trout, I think, for him to get to
Well,
100 WAR.
if he stays healthy, he gets that easily. Still, I think.
But last year he played 130 games and only had 1.5
Oh,
baseball
she played
reference WAR.
130. I thought he was injured more than that last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Might
Last
have
year
been
that
nagging stuff. Who knows?
yeah. His OPS plus going into the day today 477.
That's sustainable. So he's gonna have the greatest offensive season of all time.
Right, exactly. Um, funny.
Is
Uh,
Jake Berger allowed into the Philly killer camp yet?
he might be. He might be. Um, one of my all-time favorite baseball cards. It's not a card that I have, but there was like a dual autograph Jake Berger and Seth Beer card. So Berger and
Oh,
Beer on
that's
like
awesome.
Team USA's U18 team or something like that. It's funny. But
Yeah. So, I want to say that what I'm kind of I'm very interested to see with Painter's debut, and I think it's a lot of people who kind of know their Phillies history with pitching prospects and watched the unfortunate career of Spencer Howard. Is I'm very interested to see how his velocity holds through his outing.
oh,
That's going to be something I'm going to kind of really keep an eye on.
yes.
Is he staying, sort of 95, 97 or 94, 97, or is he dropping to 92, 93 sort of near the end of the start? I think that's going to be really important to see if he's able to keep his velocity up.
Well, on the plus for Spencer Howard or for Andrew
Jesus.
Painter, he's not going to have to run to first base from home plate.
It's
So
just going to make a joke about that.
it's
Oh my God. We'll have a scooter for him this time.
right, exactly. Spencer Howard, guess his baseball reference WAR over his career.
-3.
Very good, very good. He's negative 2.7
Jesus.
in 144 innings. It's pretty impressive.
That's abysmally awful.
Not great. Not
That's
ideal.
shockingly bad.
He's gonna turn 30 this year.
Jesus Christ.
Uh,
one of my first ever posts I wrote, it was not even on the sub. It was back when I was still on the Good Fight. And it was a post about Andy McPhail and Matt Klentak get too much hate from Phillies fans. It was like after 2019 or something. And oh my God, dude, this fucking thing aged horribly. It is one of my worst aged things I've ever written. It was like, Scott Kingery broke out this season. He's looking like the second baseman of the future. You got Spencer Howard coming up next year. And oh, dude, oh, woof. That did not age well.
yeah.
I
No,
remember
you're
everybody was so weirdly excited about Spencer Howard. And I was excited for him, but not like I remember they were quote unquote calling him up because it was the dumb COVID camp shit.
right.
And what Joe Girardi. I keep forgetting his name for some reason. Joe Girardi is like, I'll give you a hint who's pitching tomorrow. His initials are SH. Like, dude, this guy hasn't even thrown like a big league inning yet. We don't know how he's gonna look, and we're hyping him to the moon. And
Yeah.
obviously did not work out. But there's so many more hints that Andrew Painter is going to be miles and away better than Spencer Howard. Like, I just do not want to hear the Spencer Howard comparisons if Andrew Painter gives up like 3 runs over 5 innings or something.
We'll see. We'll
If it's
see.
3 over 5, I will be
That's fine.
pleased. Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. One more little thing that I have, and this is actually probably the last point that
Mhm.
I have for the episode. The score bug, they have to fix the score bug.
Yeah.
the NBC Sports Philadelphia score bug is so much worse than it used to be a couple years ago. And you look
Yeah.
at the one that's being used for like the national NBC broadcast. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
If you look it up, like there was like the Mets game for
Hmm.
their opener used
Oh
it.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
It's the one that we should be using on like the
Yes.
regional NBC broadcast. So
Yes.
hopefully they change that.
I will say one thing that's also really awful is how horribly optimized the NBC Sports app is. It is so bad on if you're using a Fire Stick, like I'm stuck with. Like the stuttering on that app is appalling. You have to like go into the application settings and clear the cache every hour and a half or something, or else it basically becomes unwatchable.
Right. Yeah.
So like
The
just NBC
website's just as
quality.
bad.
Yeah, the NBC quality has gone down so much
Yeah.
over the years. It's kind of shocking.
They're
Um,
saving money however they
they're
can, I
saving.
guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, just the RSNs are dying. I mean, that's really all it is. At
Right.
some point, every RSN is going to go kaput. And RSNs going bye bye is why you have teams screaming for a cap because
So
the Guardians I think lost their RSN, the Pirates did, the Twins did, which is why the
Padres, I
Twins.
think.
Yeah, why the Padres and Twins both did cost cutting is because they lost because tickets are not the main source of revenue for MLB teams, and a lot of people just do not realize this. It is the RSN deals, the regional sports network deals, and it's unique to us in hockey. And I think basketball, football does not, and a lot of these fans are just baseball, quote unquote baseball, and primarily only football fans. So they don't understand how regional sports network contracts work and that that's where all the money these teams get comes from. So there's going to be a cap over it, and it's been building basically since about 2017 or so. Once you really started seeing streaming take over,
Yeah. I am not looking forward to seeing the lockout next year,
this
but
lockout's going to be so bad. It's going people who are. And I don't mean to scare anybody who listens to this, but the lockout is going to be really really bad.
let's not talk
Just
about that now.
you have no. Like you, you deserve people deserve to know this, and you have two sides basically that do not want to move at all. The players don't want any world where like the Dodgers and Yankees and Phillies and Mets are restricted to spending less money, and the cheap ass owners on the bottom do not want to ever the Pirates and the Athletics have no way they are ever going to agree to being forced to spend more money. So it is going to be really bad. There is going to be a lockout, and just enjoy this. Try to enjoy this season of baseball, because I think we might not have baseball for a couple of years after this.
I'm not
How
gonna
about
say a
that for a
couple
happy ending
years.
to the podcast? How about well, I mean, not. It's going to be a 2-year gap, so like 26 to 28 is what I mean.
Sure. Yeah, the worst case, I think they're losing a full season. So sure.
Yeah, they're going to lose a full season. Let's say it that way. They're going to lose a full season.
I
Um,
could see it. Yeah. Yeah.
so how about that for a happy ending to the podcast, eh?
Hey, this is what
Who
we're all
said
about.
who said I was an anti-doomer? Am I right?
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was great, Giles.
Yes.
And
I
thank
will
you
look
for
forward to being at the game with you on Tuesday.
yeah, definitely looking forward to it. If anybody has any questions, be sure to use the podcast channel here on the Discord. The link to the Discord is going to be in the show notes. So, most post series recaps, we get some questions, we'll answer them. I maybe need to market things a little bit more because well, I want to get that activity there. Even though listens are up, but activity in the podcast channel that's down. So we'll
That's
be
bad.
here. What?
I said that's bad.
Yeah, it is sad.
We need it. We need
Um,
activity.
we do. So we will be back on Wednesday night with another episode. At least I'll be back. Hopefully, you'll be able to make a as well, Giles.
Hmm.
And until then, we will talk to you all later. Hopefully, this next series is a little better.